Right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into demand forecasting in 2025.
Ooh, very relevant.
Yeah, and it's something that I think a lot of, especially sales and revenue leaders,
Mm.
are are really starting to focus on. And we've got this great guide here by Krishnan Kaushik V that really breaks it all down.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's a
Good.
really comprehensive overview of all the different, types, methods, and processes for demand forecasting.
Absolutely. And, I think it's interesting because it's not just about stocking shelves anymore, right?
Mhm.
Like it's about being able to anticipate where those revenue streams are going to be coming from so you can fine tune your sales strategy.
Yeah, and make sure every decision you're making is backed by data,
Right.
not just intuition.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly is demand forecasting and why is it so important for these leaders?
So basically, demand forecasting is when you use historical sales data, market trends, and some analysis to kind of predict what your customers are going to want in the future. So
Yeah.
So you're taking like past data and trying to extrapolate that into the future.
yeah, you're not just relying on gut feelings or guesswork anymore.
Gotcha. So it's like having a crystal ball, but it's powered by data.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And for sales leaders, this is a game changer,
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine having accurate revenue forecasts
Yeah.
so you can budget smarter,
Right.
or knowing which products are going to be in high demand so you can really focus your sales efforts there.
Right.
You can even optimize your pricing based on how you think demand might fluctuate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I know this guy talks about different types of demand forecasting. So can you kind of walk us through those a little bit?
Sure. So you've got your qualitative methods, which are more about like tapping into market research expert opinions,
Okay.
even what your customers are saying directly.
So getting those insights from the field.
Exactly. And there are some cool methods like the Delphi method, which
Yeah.
basically gets a panel of experts together to kind of weigh in on what they think future trends are going to be.
Interesting.
And then you have your quantitative methods, which are more number crunching.
Okay.
Things like time series analysis to predict short-term demand, or causal models that look at how different factors like the economy or your marketing campaigns could impact demand.
So it's almost like connecting those dots between all these different pieces of information you're gathering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets interesting for sales leaders, because imagine you're seeing a sudden spike in online searches for like project management software.
Okay.
That could be a sign that demand for that kind of software is going to increase in the coming months.
Gotcha.
And you can get a head start on adjusting your strategies.
So it's not just about looking at past sales, but also understanding those trends.
Exactly. You need to be aware of those shifts in the market.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And we haven't even touched on how you actually implement these forecasts, monitor their accuracy,
Right.
and adapt as the market changes.
So it sounds like demand forecasting is this ongoing process.
Absolutely. You have to be flexible
Yeah.
and willing to adjust your forecasts as you get new data.
That makes sense.
It's all about staying ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've talked about what it is, but I want to dig into the benefits a little bit. Like, what's the real impact this can have for sales and revenue leaders?
So think about this with better demand forecasting. You can improve your inventory management,
Okay.
which means fewer stockouts and happier customers.
Because everyone hates when what they want is out of stock.
Exactly. And happy customers lead to more sales and increased revenue over time.
Makes sense.
Plus, you can plan your budget more effectively
Yeah.
when you have a better idea of what demand's going to look like.
So you can allocate your resources more efficiently.
Exactly.
So it's not just about selling more. It's about running a smarter sales operation overall.
That's the key takeaway. Demand forecasting gives you the data to make better decisions across the board.
And that impacts every part of your sales strategy.
Right? From inventory to pricing to resource allocation, it's all connected.
That's really powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about what it is and why it's important, but now I want to get into the how, like, what are some of the tools and technologies that are out there that can actually help sales leaders implement all of this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is there's a whole range of tools out there,
Okay.
from simple to super sophisticated.
So you don't need to like invest in some crazy expensive system to get started.
Not at all. You can even start with something as basic as Excel.
Really?
Yeah. It's got some pretty powerful built-in functions and add-ons that can handle like basic analysis and forecasting,
Huh. I wouldn't have thought of that.
especially for those short-term predictions,
Yeah.
But then if you've got like tons of data or you need more advanced features, there are those statistical software packages like IBM, SPSS.
Right.
Those give you way more power to dig into the data.
So what about those companies that are ready to go all in on this? Like, what are they using?
Well, then you're talking about those big enterprise level platforms like SAP Integrated Business Planning
Okay.
or Oracle Demantra.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, these are the systems that can not only handle your demand forecasting, but they can also integrate it with your supply chain management and other core functions.
So you're getting that like holistic view of your entire business?
Exactly. And they offer real-time data analytics scenario planning, all those bells and whistles.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive stuff.
Okay, so we can't talk about demand forecasting without talking about AI.
Of course not. AI and business intelligence are like changing the game completely.
And how so?
Well, think about tools like Salesforce Einstein Analytics. They're using AI to crunch massive amounts of data
Okay.
and find those hidden patterns that we humans might miss.
So it's like having a superpowered analyst working for you 24/7.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And here's where it gets really interesting for sales leaders.
Okay, I'm listening.
This guide talks about conversation intelligence software.
Oh yeah, like Meet Record.
Exactly.
I'm really curious about this. How do sales calls play into demand forecasting?
Well, it's all about tapping into the source of real-time data that you don't get with traditional methods.
Okay.
Every sales call is packed with information about what your customers need, what their pain points are.
So instead of just looking at past data, you're actually listening to what your customers are saying right now.
Precisely. And these conversation intelligence tools, they can analyze those calls and pick up on emerging trends, changes in sentiment,
Wow.
even potential demand shifts before they show up in your sales numbers.
So it's like having a direct line to your customers' thoughts.
That's the power of it. You know, it adds a whole new dimension to demand forecasting, makes you way more agile and responsive.
So for sales leaders, this means being able to spot those hot deals early on,
Right.
tailor your strategies to meet those emerging needs.
Exactly. You're moving from reactive to proactive, from
Yeah.
guessing to knowing. It's like you're actually predicting the future of your sales pipeline.
That's the goal.
Now, this all sounds amazing, but it can also feel a little overwhelming. Like where do you even start?
Well, the key is to keep it simple. Start with what makes sense for you and your budget.
Okay.
Whether it's a simple spreadsheet or one of those fancy AI platforms,
Right.
the most important thing is to just dive in and get started.
And it's not just about the tech. Like you need the right people who could actually interpret the data.
Absolutely. Even the most advanced technology is only as good as the people using it.
So it's about having that expertise and those leadership skills to make the right decisions.
It's a team effort, you know?
Yeah, so gather your team, brainstorm some ideas, and really combine that collective knowledge with the power of data.
It's an exciting time to be in sales.
It really is.
Demand forecasting is at the heart of it all.
I agree. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's kind of shift gears and talk about the big picture,
How is all of this going to change things for sales and revenue leaders in the years to come?
Yeah.
So how is all of this going to change things for these leaders moving forward?
Well, as these technologies keep getting better, the role of a sales leader is going to change too,
So are we talking like robots are going to take over sales teams?
Not exactly. I mean, AI is amazing at analyzing tons of data,
Right.
way faster than any human could.
Right.
But it's still those human skills that are going to make the real difference.
Okay.
Things like intuition, creativity, strategic thinking.
So these tools are more about helping humans do their jobs better, not replacing them entirely.
Exactly. It's about giving sales leaders more time to focus on those high-level tasks,
Okay.
like building relationships with clients, figuring out how to really connect with your target market,
Right.
leading your teams towards those big goals.
Yeah. It's about understanding those things that the data can't tell you.
Right, exactly.
Like those small changes in customer behavior or those trends that could lead to huge opportunities.
And those are the kinds of insights that really separate the good sales leaders from the great ones.
I see.
And demand forecasting gives you the data you need to make those smart decisions.
So it's not about becoming a data scientist. It's about using data to be a better leader.
Exactly. The best sales leaders in the future are going to be the ones who can combine data with their own experience and leadership skills.
Right.
They'll be able to take all that complex data and turn it into strategies that really work.
Okay.
They'll know how to get their teams excited about change
Yeah.
and ultimately how to drive revenue growth in a world that's constantly changing.
It's a pretty exciting time to be in sales.
It really is.
It feels like you have so much power with all these new tools.
It's all about using that power the right way.
Right.
So as you're figuring out demand forecasting, remember, it's not about replacing human intuition with algorithms.
Okay,
It's about using data to make your intuition even stronger.
I like that.
It's about taking that next step,
Yeah.
embracing the data-driven future of sales.
And leading your team to success.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about when it comes to demand forecasting.
Definitely. And remember, it's a journey.
Right.
You're going to be constantly learning, trying new things, figuring out what works best for you.
It's all about experimentation.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to dive into the data, explore those different tools, and see what happens.
The most important thing is to just start now.
Yeah, because the future of sales is all about data.
And demand forecasting is the key.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's it for our deep dive into demand forecasting.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll catch you next time for another exciting exploration of the trends shaping the future of business.